Hello, I'm Devina Joshi. In this module, we are going to discuss about leadership and motivation. So what is leadership? Or rather, what are leadership skills? Leadership skills are abilities and strengths that individuals demonstrate that help to oversee processes, guide initiatives, and steer employees towards achievement of their goals. Leadership is not just one single skill. Rather, it is a combination of a number of skills like creativity, dependability, empathy, positive feedback, active listening, etc., all working together. An effective leader must have a thorough knowledge of motivational factors for others. He needs to understand the basic needs of his superiors, his peers, and his employees. Effective leadership can happen only when the leader is effective. An effective leader is also a motivator. Any kind of project deadlines, long-term growth, and even day-to-day objectives all depend upon solid leadership that fosters motivation. So then we come to the question, what is motivation? Motivation is a goal-oriented characteristic that helps individuals to achieve their objectives. It pushes individuals to work hard to achieve his or her goals. So then we come to which are the four types of motivation. So first we have positive motivation, that is motivation towards a goal. Then you have intrinsic motivation, which basically, as the name suggests, is motivation from within. You have negative motivation, which is motivation away from something. And then you have extrinsic motivation, that is something, a motivation that comes from the outside. So it is external. Let us understand all of these four types of motivation with the help of an example. If your boss comes to you and says, write this report and you will get a bonus, that is positive motivation because it is attached to a reward. Your intrinsic motivation kicks in and tells you that you really want to write the report for that bonus. But if your boss comes and tells you, write this report or you're fired, then it is a negative emotion and it is an extrinsic motivation too, because someone from outside is telling you to write that report, whereas within you, your intrinsic motivation is telling you that you really don't want to write the report. Only when you feel that you want to write the report will the motivation be creative and sustainable. Leadership and motivation seem to go hand in hand, yet there is a difference between the two. So let's understand this difference. Leadership is an example, or I would say a consistent example of rising above any or all circumstances. It is external. On the other hand, motivation is an inner knowledge or insight that makes rising above circumstances possible, and it is internal. Let's understand this with the help of an example. If you are a manager, obviously you want your team to excel, but it's not always possible for you to motivate your team to work hard. But you can lead by example. So if, as a manager, you passionately apply yourself to your own job and your projects, then you point to your team's innate ability to overcome any circumstances and excel. So it's very important that one understands this difference between leadership and motivation, because if we don't understand this difference, then companies will be overrun by followers who are incapable of using any imagination, let alone coming through when the going gets tough. Let us now have a look at the important guidelines that outline what motivation is. I have with me here Mr. Satish Mehta, who has over 40 years of experience in the financial services sector. While I outline some of these guidelines, he is going to help us out by giving us an example which is industry specific related to the point that I make. So the first one, they say that an organization must harmonize and match the individual's needs with the organizational needs, which means that if a leader is a good leader, as an executive, he should ensure that his business's moral and ethics are the same as the ones that he seeks in his employees. So do you agree with this?
Completely agree. And I'll give you, I think what I'm going to do is, as you run through your points, I'm going to give you real life experiences of mine over the last so many years. And
Yeah.
without mentioning names, they will highlight the point you're making.
Yes.
So many years ago, when I was the managing director of Sibyl, we just started, and there was a lot of pressure to deliver and start the work and start selling reports by a particular date.
Right.
And this young girl who had just joined us walked into my room and said, "Sir, I need to talk to you." Now, when normally people come and say, "I want to talk to you," means they want to resign.
Oh my God.
So when she said this, I asked her, I said, "Are you quitting?" She said, "No, no, no." So I was okay with anything else that came after that. And she says, "I'm getting married, and I know we are all under performance and, whatever, but can I get 2 days leave?"
Right.
Because it was a Saturday, Sunday, and she said 4 days and I'll be back. And I looked at her and very poker face said, "No, you can't get 2 days leave." Her face fell. I said, "Take a week off."
Oh wow.
And this was a need that she had, which she was
Right.
expressing through asking for 2 days. I sensed it. And the best part of it was that because she got that 5 days leave, and obviously she could, take a short break after she got married and all,
Right.
it actually changed her commitment level to the organization. She was, whether it was a sense of commitment, whether it's a sense of a little bit of guilt, a little bit of relief, whatever you want to call it. And she remembered this the day I left 5 years ago. She says, "You gave me 5 days when I asked for only 2 days." So that's where her need and the organization's need kind of work together. So this is just one example. There are many,
Right.
but let's move on.
Yes, sure. The second guideline is appreciation and rewards. So they say that appreciation and rewards are key motivators that influence people to work towards their goals. So like for example, recognition of good behavior, or I must say exceptional behavior, with a small token of appreciation, a letter or a certificate, helps to motivate employees. So have you ever used such kind of a reward or appreciation?
But if you ask the people who ever reported to me or do so now, they'll probably say no. Because what is more difficult than giving a reward or recognition is accepting it. People find it difficult to accept it. But yes, I think the short answer to your question is that not only have I experienced it as a receiver of this kind of stuff, and another example is when I just joined HDFC, we were still, young flunkies, so to say.
Right.
And there was a discussion about whether we should charge fees or not charge fees and what should we charge. And Mr. Parekh called all of us in and asked our views specifically. Now at that stage, I didn't even know what fees meant. I mean,
Right.
euphemistically speaking. But the fact that we were asked to come in and give a view in front of veterans of the industry just, motivates you. So yes, motivation does happen. Money motivation or a gift card or something is the easy one. The next one is to write a letter or something. But I think the other big motivator is to have a public acknowledgement
Right.
of the employees or the colleagues' work. And I think that, whilst people might not see money in the bank, is probably the best motivator you can do. And have I done it? I hope I have, but maybe after I'm gone from this world, a lot of people will say, "Yeah, he used to motivate us," but I hope that's true.
No, I'm sure you've done it. So the next guideline is being a role model. Now I know that is a great motivator for people to achieve their goals. And I also know that being 40 years in the service industry, the finances services industry, I'm sure you must have been a role model to thousands of youngsters.
I hope so. That's all I can say.
You're being modest.
And you're being kind. But yeah, let's not kind of start a self-appreciation course here between the two of us. But I think, yes, I think a role model is something that evolves, that grows, and it's not that one day you get up and say that this person is my role model.
Right.
Now, the caution I would say is that you can't become your role model. You have to take lessons from what he or she does and then evolve yourself. So, for example, my role model very clearly, and I think I've said it in multiple forums, was Mr. Parekh, who was chairman of HDFC, who is chairman of HDFC. But if I ever tried to become like him, I would fall flat on my face. Right? The idea is to become like yourself, but use values, morals, ethics, commitment, passion, and all that from him. The way he involved us, I hope I've done that, whether it was in my earlier jobs or whether it's in my current role, whether by involving people, you actually not only motivate them, you give them a role model to maybe follow, or aspects of you, but more importantly, you're also motivating them to think, to grow, and I think that is very important, because every organization outlives the founders.
Yes.
Right?
That is true.
So that's the way it is, like, and so I think, yes, role models are very important. The caution is don't become like them, learn from them.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point to remember. The next guideline is about encouraging people to get involved. So when employees are involved in the process of decision making, or in resolution, conflict resolution, it not only teaches them, I would say not only motivates them, but also teaches them the intricacies of decision making factors. So would you agree with that?
Is there anything more than 100%? Yes, I do. I'll give you again examples to this thing, to kind of make this point. And I think people who are listening to this workshop should identify with them, not in the context of my examples, but their lives and their situations. So even today, when I started my consulting firm currently, there was this young girl who was just out of college, and she just first job, and I used to kind of mark her mails which at that moment didn't look relevant to her, because she was doing A job, B job, and C job, and I was marking it D, E, F, G all the way to Z.
Right.
And she would keep saying, "Why are you marking it?" And initially I used to say, by mistake, and then I'd say, "Read it," and then she would say, "All right, I've read it," but I said, "No, just read it." And very quickly, she herself started coming back with some comment. Right? And then she realized why I was marking these mails and all that. Of course, for a long time she cursed me because she says, "You're flooding my mailbox," but that's the point. Okay. Similarly, when we started civil, for example, and I gave you the HDFC example, but when I started civil, any decision we took, I'd call everybody into the boardroom, youngsters who were working with me, and I'd say, "You tell me what you think we should do." Right? I used to force them to read a newspaper. Yeah. Because I wanted them to get involved with the industry they were working for, and these were all freshers, graduates, postgraduates, MBAs, whatever they were. And I think it was just fantastic to see young minds. And
honestly,
there was a selfish reason for that. And the selfish reason was that when you associate with young minds,
you
feel younger mentally.
Yes, I agree with that.
So I think that's very important. Otherwise, you start dying.
True, very true. So the next guideline is developing a moral and a team spirit. So they say that developing a moral and team spirit is very necessary for the well-being of an organization, because I think the mental and the emotional state of a person is his moral fabric, constitutes his moral fabric.
Absolutely.
And I think leaders need to empathize with, and they need to know and make their decisions and their activities all keeping in mind the morale of the subordinates. So what do you have to say about that?
So I think let's take this in 3 stages. Let's take morale and moral. Right? Now, the morale and the team spirit are kind of one, so we'll talk about that. But I think there is a moral that goes behind this, and I think the best way to imbibe or bring that moral into the organization is to do it by example.
Right.
And someone told me, again, my mentor, he says, "Satish, don't do anything in private which, if in public, when it becomes public, you're embarrassed professionally." Right? He says, "What you do with your personal life is, nothing to do with us."
Right.
Us means as an organization. And I think that is something that I believed in. So, people have asked me, "Can we pay you in cash," for example? And I said, "No way, I'd rather pay the tax, show it, and move ahead." Yeah. Now, if you set that as an example to the team, hopefully a team, a young team, which is what I have at Athena, actually will pick it up.
Right.
So will they pick it up 100%? Hopefully, but hopefully not, probably not. But I think if they pick it up that way, the models on the ethics of the organization is the collective moral and ethics of the organization, of the individuals. Now when you come to morale and team spirit, I think that's absolutely critical.
Yes.
Because as I've always believed, you're spending more waking hours with your team than you are with your family on a weekday,
Yes.
for example. You're talking all the day, with each other, you're communicating.
Yeah.
And I think what work, of course, everybody works, and it's important, for example, to celebrate small victories.
Yes.
Because there will never be 100 big victories, but there will be 100 small victories, which adds up to, one big victory. Doing, smaller organizations can do this, very large ones probably not. Having an offsite, playing team building games.
Yes.
Now, all this looks nice on theory, but sometimes in practice it also does work. So I think you need to build that. You got to work with them. So again, for example, when we started Civil, my team would work 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the night. And they would all tell me, go home because you got nothing to do here anyway.
Right.
And I wouldn't go home. I'd sit in my room being available. And my only job was, and I mean this, was at 10:30 to go and buy ice cream for everyone and bring it back.
Oh, that is how
Now,
sweet.
the point was, and then I'd say, okay guys, stop working, let's all go to the pantry at 10:30 and have ice cream.
Right.
And then I would drop some of the people home, or to the station, depending on what time we left. And I think that is team spirit. Team spirit is ultimately the spirit of the team. And, the leader has to be responsible for the spirit of the team.
Well, you should have a leader like him. It's not easy to get a boss like him.
No. You're too kind now.
A leader must be empathetic. So they say that the leader must put himself into the shoes of his subordinates or his employees, and then think and see their point of view, or their angle. And they say that supposing the subordinate is going through difficult times, then he must empathize, because that would make the employee feel mentally and emotionally strong and help him to work better and achieve his goals. So have you had any such employee where you had to kind of empathize with them?
Many. And I hope I succeeded. Sometimes I probably didn't. But again, if you want examples, ironically or strangely, I've had two colleagues in Athena whose parents had accidents or falls in the last few months. And one of them happened whilst we were about to launch some of our work, and this person was mission critical to the launch.
Right.
And she walked in crying and said, I need to go home today. Her parents live outside Bombay. Can I? With very tentative fear and all that. And I said, don't even waste my time, just catch a flight. And she didn't come back for a long time.
Right.
And we empathize, all of us as an organization, because it's easy to say, oh, we are very sorry, please go.
Right.
But everybody else rallied around to make sure that her part of the work did not suffer. Right? Another example, and these are personal examples, right? There was this girl who used to work with me in Civil, outstanding worker. She had a baby, and she took her normal maternity leave and said, can I get an extension, for 2 months because I'm feeding the baby and all that. And I said, look, I can't give you an extension because then it's an example that I set across.
Correct.
But what is it that you need the leave for? She says, well, I need to give my baby a midday feed, and the rest of the time is fine because my mother looks after the kid.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what, and she didn't live too far from the office. I said, for the next 3 months, you take a 2.5-hour lunch break.
Wonderful.
Just go home, feed the baby, eat your lunch and come back. Now, a lot of people ask me, would you have done that with everybody?
Right.
Ironically, probably not, right? Because it's also, Harvard does a lesson on this, and I believe that strongly, that there is a need and an element of favoritism beyond the normal. Right?
Yes.
That depends upon how important the person is, how good the person is, what potential he or she has.
Exactly.
Right? So while I did it for her, and she's now, and by giving you the designation, I'm going to be naming her effectively, she's the Chief Operating Officer of Civil. And she started as a junior assistant with me, right? And she was working with me. So I think, yes, they will need to empathize generally and specifically depending upon the individual, the situation. Now, if somebody comes and tells you, I brought airline tickets, so I'm going on a holiday, I'm not going to empathize with that because then you didn't ask me before you took that leave, So it all depends, and people will see it as favoritism. So be it, because, this world works on that. And I think, you always favor good people or important to the organization or potential and all that.
But I'm sure the CEO must be following your footsteps and empathizing with her, employees,
I
because
think so.
she has gone through the similar experience and she appreciated it.
Well, I'm sure that influenced her, but I think, to be fair, she was a good human being, so I'm sure she still does all that too.
All right. So we come to the last guideline,
Sure.
which is giving the employees a sense of accomplishment. So, like if the leader, tells his team that the kind of work that they're doing, either tells them or by way of his actions, makes sure that the team knows that whatever work that they're doing is really important for the organization's success and well-being, then I think that is the greatest motivating factor for them to achieve their goals.
Absolutely, and we've done that, I think, at HDFC, at Sibyl, where we would tell people what we were doing
Right.
and what their role was. And then you can keep saying, I'm just a junior, I'm the youngest in the organization. But
Right.
remember the famous story that the smallest cog in the wheel is the
Yes.
one that can break down the entire system.
Right.
So I think one is to tell them what they're doing.
Mhm.
The other is, of course, to, like, I don't know, I used to tell the guy at HDFC who used to make the tea,
Mhm.
who was a peon,
Right.
saying that, boss, you're the most important guy because I look forward to your tea every morning, and that
Right.
kind of peps me up.
Yes.
So I think everybody plays a role. The liftman plays a role. The driver
Yes.
plays a role. And I think that there is dignity in that labor also.
Correct.
And I think whilst obviously all of us have moved on and I don't make tea at home anymore. But the fact is that everybody is important, and you
Yeah.
need to communicate that, because often people think that they are just
Yeah. Ordinary.
too ordinary. I'm a junior.
Right.
I'm the youngest. All these adjectives come up. But
Or
honestly,
they feel they don't count.
or they don't count, partly because they're never told that they count.
Yes.
So I think you need to keep reiterating it to the point where you think, isn't this guy repeating it too often? But you repeat it because you want to re-emphasize, you want to reiterate, and
Motivate, yeah.
you just keep saying it, because if you say it 10 times, hopefully it'll go in once. But if you say
Yeah.
it once, you don't know what will happen.
Right.
And you have to mean it. There has
Yes.
to be a sincerity
Yes.
which has to come through
Yeah.
and be accepted by the other person also.
So thank you so much for
My
those
pleasure.
valuable examples, and I'm sure those who are watching this video will learn a lot from them.
Well, I hope so. That's the intent of all these modules that we're doing.
Yes.
So, I want the industry to not only learn and go ahead, but learn and go ahead the right way. And I'm hoping that all our modules actually enable that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.